Today I'm going to talk about trauma reenactment. I was reminded of this when I read John Krakauer's new book, Missoula, Rape and the Justice System in a College Town, and I'm really glad he wrote about it. This is a concept that everyone needs to know about. And it might be helpful for you to watch my first blog called Inadvertent Trauma, because some of the things I'm going to talk about in my life relate to that incident. But first, I want to define trauma reenactment. What that is when our body and our system has experienced a trauma that's unresolved, we end up putting ourselves back in very similar situations in order to try to resolve that trauma. It's an unconscious attempt of our body to complete it, to be able to figure out how to do that situation right so that we don't end up being traumatized. In Krakauer's new book, he talks about trauma reenactment in relationship to survivors of sexual assault. The stereotype is that people who've been assaulted often will hide away, will put on weight, will try to make themselves as unattractive as they can be so that no one will try to assault them again, that they won't be appealing. However, another common response is to actually put yourself in a situation that unfortunately may be similar to the trauma in order to try to get it right this time, to resolve it, to not have something similar happen. I had a client who told me that after she'd been assaulted, she ended up sleeping with a lot of men, and what she really wanted was to be held, to find that small window of comfort and safety that being held by someone provided. In my situation, the trauma that I experienced came in a game where I was held down. And I did not realize how I was reenacting it until the last couple of years. The first thing that I think happened for me was when I was about 13, I started to be interested in boys, and I was at a soccer camp. The way I showed my interest was to run away from him. I think that relates back to if I could run fast enough, he couldn't catch me, and nobody was going to hold me down and torture me like they did in the game. Then, throughout probably middle school and high school, I would wrestle with my dad. I loved my dad. I was a tomboy. I loved physical contact. The challenge here is that my dad was a college wrestler. I think now, upon reflection, when he would start to hold me down, I would get mean. I would pinch him, I would hit him, I would squirm, and then he would just pin me. I now look back on that and think I was trying to retrain my body that when somebody held me down, I could get out, I could make it better. Now that I know what I was doing and have talked to professionals about this, it's, I believe, releasing from my system. And so I no longer have to do the things that I was doing before. And it's freed up my energy. And that's what Krakauer talks about in his book, is that if you can get support for what your system is doing that's a natural response to trauma and complete it or resolve it, you won't forget the trauma. It's not like it never happened, but you get your life back in a lot of ways. And the reason I want to talk about this, and I'm glad that Krakauer included it in his book, is that, like I said in my first blog about trauma, we all have experienced some sort of trauma. And it can be really helpful to see and get support around how we're trying to resolve it, where we need resolution. I invite you to look back at your life, and if you find areas where you do need support, I encourage you to seek it out. It has made a huge difference in my life, and I've seen the difference it has made in a lot of my clients' lives, and reading John's book really helped reinforce the power of community, the power of education, the power of support. All of us can benefit from knowing the dynamics of trauma and what to do with them. So again, if you have questions, feel free to contact me. Until next time.